Welcome to the Explainer. So let's jump straight into what is probably the single biggest anxiety of our time. As artificial intelligence evolves at breakneck speed, is it going to completely replace us in the workforce? Or are we actually standing at the dawn of a totally new, elevated human economy? It's a massive debate, right? You hear it in headlines, in boardrooms, even at the dinner table. Well, today we're going to use hard data to cut through all that noise and figure out exactly what the next few years actually hold for us. Let's just tackle the paradox head-on. Literally, everyone is terrified of an AI job apocalypse right now, and it's easy to see why. We're constantly bombarded with stories about intelligent machines passing medical exams, writing flawless code, generating award-winning art. So naturally, our immediate, very human reaction is to panic about mass displacement. But the reality of how new technologies historically integrate into our economy, well, it's rarely that simple, and it's almost never uniformly destructive. To immediately counter that widespread fear, I want you to consider this jaw-dropping projection from Niti Aayog. They estimate that artificial intelligence could actually generate 4 million completely new jobs by the year 2030. Now, let that sink in. That isn't 4 million jobs saved, that is 4 million brand new roles created by the exact same technology that everyone is terrified of. It really suggests we're looking at a massive economic restructuring, not just a collapse. To make sense of the whole shebang, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll ask AI, job killer or creator. Then we'll dive into the 2030 labor forecast. Third, we'll look at the rise of AI creators. And finally, we'll go over the essential skills you'll need by 2026. All right, part one, AI, job killer or creator. So right now, experts are fiercely divided into two totally different camps when forecasting the labor market. You've got the crisis perspective and the growth perspective, and we really need to weigh both impartially. The crisis view, it warns of rapid, devastating displacement. We're talking about a massive 22% expected drop in routine work as automation just eats into human versatility. And they've got real-world examples, like factories automating 90% of their workforce, or algorithms diagnosing illnesses just as well as human doctors. But on the flip side, you have the growth perspective. This camp argues that sure, AI will automate rote knowledge work, but by doing that, it's going to free us up to pioneer entirely unexplored economic domains. We're talking about areas that require deep creativity, vision, and the birth of completely new tech-driven industries. This growth perspective makes a lot more sense when you think about it through the lens of the structure of human consciousness. Imagine a pyramid, going from body and brain at the bottom, up through mind, and finally reaching spirit at the very peak. The core argument here is that while AI is getting insanely good at handling mind and brain tasks, memory, perception, complex problem solving, it fundamentally cannot replicate uniquely human spirit traits. AI doesn't have vision, it doesn't have purpose, beliefs, or imagination. So the growth argument insists that the economy of the future is going to be built heavily on those top-tier, exclusively human traits. Moving right along to part two, the 2030 labor forecast. So where do these competing views actually land us when we project ahead to the year 2030? Let's look at the hard expert consensus. What's really fascinating here is the TechCast expert consensus projection, which they call a muddling through scenario. It's kind of a mix of both worlds. The painful displacement the crisis camp warns about is very real. Routine jobs are indeed expected to plummet dramatically by 18%. But get this, the creative category is forecast to jump from a mere 4% in 2012 all the way up to 15% by 2030. That is a massive 11% increase. Now, we are also expecting a rise in people relying on guaranteed minimum income or traditional unemployment, which honestly just reflects the very real, messy friction of this massive transition. When we break down that 2030 distribution, something really stands out. Service and knowledge professions still remain the absolute largest piece of the pie at 31%. Why is that? Well, the prevailing expert consensus is that AI is basically going to do the grunt work. It'll act as an assistant, and that is a huge win because it allows doctors, lawyers, and managers to focus purely on the complex, subjective, human side of what they do. The economy isn't eliminating these roles, it's upgrading them. Which brings us to part three, the rise of AI creators. We just talked about how the creative economy is projected to boom to 15% of the workforce, but I want to zoom in on what that actually looks like in the real world right now, because this is absolutely not just distant academic theory. We are already seeing entirely new micro-industries pop up out of nowhere. A perfect example, the sudden, massive demand for AI-powered storytelling content on YouTube. Independent creators are using AI to narrate, break down, and generate stories. They're essentially inventing a brand new job category out of thin air.
Honestly, who knew AI storyteller would be a viable career path, even just a few years ago? But here it is, sitting perfectly at the intersection of entertainment and technology.
To put that into perspective, just check out some trending keywords from recent digital marketing data. People are actively searching for things like AI movie story explanation and AI fairy tale story explained. What this shows us is that modern creators are actively taking our ancient, fundamentally human curiosity, our love for stories and mythology, and blending it with cutting-edge AI tools. They're doing this to build authority, capture massive watch hours, and reach entirely new digital audiences. This isn't the future. This is that 11% creative boom happening right before our eyes. And the crazy part is how robust and adaptable this new creative market is. On one side of the coin, you have creators using keywords like AI-generated story explanation to target a huge, global, tech-curious audience, people who really value transparency and innovation. But on the exact same platform, other creators are tapping into explosive, hyper-localized growth by offering AI-explained stories in Hindi or other regional languages. It perfectly proves that AI doesn't just centralize power into the hands of a few tech giants, it actually gives individual creators the tools to hyper-target and serve very specific human communities.
Okay, part 4, essential skills for 2026. So, knowing all of this, knowing that a massive shift is already underway, from routine tasks to highly creative and specialized work, how do you actually prepare yourself? Well, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that you need a modernized technical toolkit. Now, don't panic, you don't necessarily need a fancy computer science degree, but you do need to speak the language of the machines. First, you've got to grasp the basics of AI and machine learning. Then, pick up a versatile programming language. Python is a great start. From there, develop some solid data science skills so you can actually interpret the information the AI spits out at you. And finally, you absolutely must understand prompt engineering. You have to know how to effectively command and direct these new systems to get the exact outputs you want.
But hey, listen to me on this one. Technical skills alone are not going to cut it. Remember that pyramid of consciousness we talked about earlier? You have to combine your technical know-how with uniquely human capabilities. You're going to need business analytics to actually make strategic decisions. You need digital marketing and SEO to get your AI-assisted work out there for the world to see. You'll need to leverage automation and cloud technology to scale what you do. But above all else, you need human communication skills. The ability to collaborate, to lead, and to communicate complex ideas clearly, that is what will truly make you future-proof in an automated world. So, as we muddle through this totally historic transition from routine labor to a creative, AI-assisted economy, the ultimate question really isn't whether AI is going to replace you. No, the real question is, will you be the one replaced by the algorithm, or will you be the one directing it? The tools are right there in front of us, the demand is growing like wildfire, and your next move is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay adaptable, and I'll catch you next time.